Alrighty guys, today is sugar board making day. It's November the 2nd and we're going to make our sugar boards. I make the sugar boards, I put the sugar boards on around Thanksgiving. You have to make them early because you need to have your sugar boards to dry. So let's talk about it. This is actually a sugar board. I'm going to call it a sugar board frame. It's got a screen on it here. It does have an entrance on here. That is important. I'll talk about that later. There is a piece cut out here, but that's not real important. I mean, they can obviously fit through that hole. So we're going to make us a sugar board. So let's see how to do that. So I take the sugar board, and then I've got some paper here. Got some newspaper. The newspaper I cut to the size of the sugar board a little bit. I let it hang over the edges here. And so that way the sugar won't go down inside the sides here. Because I've done it before, I cut it exactly right, and all the sugar just goes down here and makes a mess. Speaking of mess, you do want to work on this on plastic and stuff like that, because they will, it will make a mess all over the place. Easy to clean up with all the sugar. And so everything you do with bees is a mess. And so we're going to take this here, and I'm going to check something here. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so we're going to make this into a sugar board. So what I'm going to do is also that little entrance that we saw right here. I'm going to cut a piece of paper out right here. And again, I'm not sure if it's like that. This little entrance here. I'm going to cut a little notch right here for the bees to be able to get up through. And you'll see how they fit on the hive when I put them on in a couple weeks. Don't know. Oh, I don't have a tripod today. I'm having tires put on my car or my truck, and so my tripod is in my truck. So I'm gonna cut that little piece out for you. All right, and now let's put the sugar in. I'm going to show you how to make the sugar in a second. I already had some sugar made up here. So this is what the sugar board looks like. Now, I cut some little slits here, maybe to help the bees. They're going to come up, and they're going to come up through the screen here, and they'll eat the sugar. And I talk about eating the sugar. Sugar boards, I mean, my hives are just packed with honey right now. That they can, I mean, my hives are really heavy. They're going to have plenty of food. And so I made the mistake my first year saying, they got lots of food. They don't need sugar boards. The purpose of the sugar board is not only food. I think the main purpose of the sugar board is to control the moisture in the hive. Those bees working away in air, trying to keep everything warm, produce tons and tons of moisture, and the moisture just fills the hive up and destroys the hive. I remember opening up a hive my first year in the spring, wet as can be, and the bees were not very healthy, ended up dying on me. So this is mainly for moisture control. So I have my sugar here. This is the consistency of the sugar. I'll talk about that more in a second. So let's pour the sugar into the sugar board here. I told you I was going to show you how to make the sugar. And we're just going to put it around here. So I got to make more sugar, obviously. And so here's how we make the sugar. So get the wife's mixer out. Don't tell her when you grab it. She's gone today, so that's how I do it. Obviously put the sugar in. I have found that it takes about, let's see, this is a 10-pound bag. I probably used 6 pounds on a hive maybe, or on a sugar board. So take this here and you lock her down, start her up, and take some water. The water, I did put a dash of vinegar, white vinegar in there. They say that keeps the mold from growing on it. I don't know about that. So anyways, I just poured some in. That's all I did. If you want to look up the correct ratio of how much vinegar to put in, you could put Hive Alive and stuff like that in there, but I don't. That's all the water it should take. And so that mix in there. All right, and that looks way too wet to me, and that's okay because there's where I made the mistake last year. Is while it was running, I used my wife's nice new spoon. Thought I could do it without breaking anything while it was running, and so you can see how wet that is. That's pretty wet. And so what I have to do then, obviously, is get more sugar. Unfortunately, that means you have to watch me open a bag of sugar. So let me go grab another bag of sugar. I always wonder what the cashiers think when I am coming out of the store with 70 pounds of sugar. So back to this here. Notice I didn't fill it up with sugar all the way. I'm going to add water to it. And what I don't want to do is add too much water and find out with it full of sugar that it's too wet. And so I start with it low, and that way I'm going to add more sugar, and then I can keep watching it, adding more sugar, and that way I can get it to the right consistency that I want. Because once this is too full, you can't do it. So I'm going to add more sugar. And we'll let that go. So this is probably about right. I don't think the mixer likes it too much, but shout out to KitchenAid. And how I test the sugar, to be honest, is I actually take it and I test everything. I can tell the moisture content by eating it there, because you can't really tell by looking, and I can look at it, because you want this to be as dry as possible, but also wet, because you want it to stick together inside there. It doesn't fly all over the place. You don't want a lot of water in here. What you want is it to just stick together, because remember, we're going to try to get the water out of the hive instead of putting water into the hive. And so I think that's a little bit too much water still. I'm just going to put a little bit more sugar in. That should do it. Okay, so that's what it should look like. Let's open her up here. Oh, get off of there. All right. All right, now some people put pollen patties and stuff like that in the middle here and build the sugar around it, trying to give the bees some pollen. to get a quick start on making their brood. I find that basically what I'm doing is feeding the beetles is what I find I do if I try to put a pollen patty in there, because those beetles just love those pollen patties. So take this here, just add some more sugar to it. You see the consistency of that sugar? And so it's the good consistency that you can take it and you can form it. You might think of it as the consistency of sand when you're making sand castles. You want it to stick together, but you don't want it to, when you make it, you don't want it just, you know what I'm talking about. So it looks like sand castle type. Okay, and I'll fill this up more. I don't want you to watch me do that all the time. I have one done over here. And so let me grab something for you first. What you definitely don't want to do, and I did this the first time, is fill these up too high, because then you can't put the top cover back on. And so I take a board and I go across till I can't tell if you can see that or not. That way I can tell that it makes it through there. So that's what one looks like. And I set it up to dry. And so I set it to dry because you want it to dry from the top and the bottom. So you want it to dry really well, because again, you don't want to put any moisture into the hive. And then when you let that dry, don't forget when you pick it up, it's on a screen. This screen is going to bow. And so make sure you set it on something to try to keep it from bowing. So I got it kind of on an edge of something. You could put more wood underneath there or something. I'm not going to go through that. So that's what the sugar board looks like when you're done with it. And that should be a perfect looking sugar board right there. So again, that was about 6 pounds of sugar in there. So that is how you make a sugar board. So I'm going to finish this one up, and we'll talk to you guys later on.